And now it's a great pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Charlotta Pisinger, Denmark's first professor in tobacco prevention. Charlotta is a national expert in tobacco, has written the national guidelines for the treatment of tobacco addiction, published multiple tobacco-related reports and scientific results, and we look very much forward to your talk. Novel nicotine products, a gift or a threat to public health?
Thank you very much for the kind presentation. I will give you a little insight of what I'm working with, and we are in the field of tobacco nicotine control and prevention and public health. So novel nicotine products, are they a gift or threat to public health? The market has exploded with new nicotine and tobacco products in the last years. And these products, they don't fall from heaven. There is, of course, an industry behind. We have more than 70 years of tobacco research, and we have been very successful in tobacco prevention. Most countries in the world have signed World Health Organization's Framework Convention on Tobacco Control. And as a result of that, the smoking rates in most countries are decreasing. This is very bad news for the tobacco industry, and they need new strategies. So these products, these novel nicotine and tobacco products, are extremely attractive because the industry can gain bigger profit. They can circumvent the legislation, for example, marketing bans. They can prevent loss of consumers, people who would have quit smoking. They can renormalize the tobacco industry by talking about harm reduction products and attract new consumers, people who would not have started smoking. Here are some examples of how they are challenging the smoking bans. This is a presentation from British American Tobacco to their shareholders. They are talking about good old days where you could smoke anywhere, anytime. And now we are in this miserable situation for the industry where we have a lot of lost occasions due to the smoking bans. And what they are wanting is a future where you again can use a nicotine product or a tobacco product around the clock. One of the greatest challenges, as I see it, is that these harm reduction products are renormalizing the tobacco industry. For example, they are getting access to decision makers. In Denmark, Philip Morris International, a large tobacco company, has been invited twice to the health committee in the Danish parliament to present their harm reduction products. This never happened before. Also, they have very easy access to the media now, not only newspapers, but they also published in the Danish medical journal, unheard before. They are also seeking to be seen as legitimate members of the scientific community, and they are attending a lot of scientific events and presenting there. They are paying scientists and doctors to write papers with very favorable results. I have published a study on e-cigarettes and the impact of a conflict of interest on the findings of e-cigarettes and health. They take part in political consultation, they produce educational materials used by health organizations, they run training sessions for doctors, and create front groups that they sponsor but call them grassroots organizations. Why is this worrying? It is because we have evidence that countries with high tobacco industry interference also have a higher daily smoking prevalence. The industry wants us to focus on old, reluctant smokers who do not want to quit. They don't want to talk about the general population or about youth. But all marketing is aimed at young people. They pay influencers to promote these products to young people. They pay shop owners to place these products by the counter. The products are typically with a sweet or a nice flavor, and they call them hashtag sweet lover, comparing them with sweets. And British American Tobacco also tells their shareholders that their mission is to stimulate the senses of the new generations. It is not to help old smokers switch to a less harmful product. And they are very successful. All over the world, we see alarming rates of young people who use these products. Another concern is that many, or in some countries, most users of these products, they also smoke, so they continue smoking, so-called dual users. We published the first systematic review on dual use and showed that it is at least, but probably more harmful than exclusive smoking, and a new meta-analysis has confirmed this finding. So moments are being regained through polyusage. This is what the tobacco industry says, and that is their dream scenario, that people use multiple nicotine and tobacco products at the same time. Nicotine, anytime, anywhere. And now we not only deal with the tobacco industry, but also with the, for example, e-cigarette industry. All these are e-cigarette products, camouflaged, so it is much more difficult, or it's easier to hide for their parents and teachers. What about the health effects? They are called harm reduction products. Are they reducing the harm? First, we must ask ourselves, reducing harm for whom? If we talk about the old smoker unable to quit, there might be potentially a reduction in harm. If we talk about young non-smokers, there definitely will be an increase in harm. The industry claims that it is much better than young people use the new nicotine products or tobacco products than conventional cigarettes. But there is absolutely no evidence that use prevents smoking in adolescence. There is no social gradient. It's not the usual suspects that are using these products. And many systematic reviews have shown that, for example, e-cigarette users, they triple their risk of smoking initiation. The same is seen with use of snus. And among those who have no intention to start smoking, e-cigarette use actually increases the risk of smoking even more. Here is an example of Denmark. You can see that smoking rate is more or less unchanged over time, while use of nicotine products has increased steeply. Here is in Sweden. We have seen in the last year a steep increase in use of snus and nicotine pouches, and at the same time we see an increase in use of conventional cigarettes. Nicotine is not harmless. It stimulates the sympathetic system. It increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and is harmful to the pregnancy. But it also harms the immature brain. We have published a report for the Council on Health and Disease Prevention, and concluded that there is moderate evidence that nicotine causes inflammation in the brain that disturbs the cognitive function, increases, it makes, there is difficulties in concentrating and learning. It increases the risk of anxiety and depression and stress. And people they don't deal with stress, they cannot cope with stress, and there is a loss of self-control. and it is highly addictive. Furthermore, it has been shown that nicotine is a gateway to smoking or to other drugs. And this is not something that we conclude in Denmark only. Already in 2016, a very famous report from US concluded that from prenatal development through adolescence and early adulthood, exposure to nicotine poses a serious threat to the brain. We do not have long-term evidence. You can smoke for decades before you see any harmful effects. We cannot perform randomized trials. We cannot say to 100,000 young people, you have to use nicotine pouches for the next 50 years, and to 100,000, you can never touch these products. So we are lacking evidence, hardcore evidence now, but we have a lot of other studies. We have thousands of other studies, and they are all indicating harmful biological effects. And a very new meta-analysis on e-cigarettes has shown that there is very little difference in risk of different diseases between smoking and using of e-cigarettes. Finally, when we look at impact on public health, it is not enough to talk about toxicity. How harmful is this product? But also to look at how many people are exposed. So a product with low toxicity, for example, alcohol, can have a more negative impact on public health if it's spread to a large part of the population than a product with high toxicity, such as heroin, just because more people are exposed. So tobacco research is old, and we have a lot of evidence. We have learned that if a product is easily available and is cheap, there is no regulation or legislation, and a lot of marketing, use of the product will go up. On the other hand, if it's expensive, difficult to available, difficultly available, if there is strong regulation and marketing bans, use will go down. So let's learn from tobacco control and use it on nicotine prevention too. And if you are interested in tobacco research or nicotine research, we have a lot of studies we can send you, or you can write to me or call me. Thank you very much.